Data inconsistency points to the CCP's decades-long pattern of lies. May 9, 2020. By Haiming, Minghui.org. China revised the coronavirus death toll in Wuhan from 2,579 to 3,869, an increase of 50.02%, on April 17. But many still question the accuracy of the updated number, given the constant lying by the Chinese Communist Party since the pandemic broke out a few months ago. There have been many pieces of evidence pointing to a much higher death toll. For example, Wuhan residents were told on March 23 to pick up the urns of their loved ones who had died of the virus. In Hinkou Funeral Home alone, 2 truckloads of urns, 5,000 in total, were unloaded on March 26 to 27 to prepare for later distribution. There were long waiting lines at the funeral homes, where an average of 500 urns per funeral home were scheduled for distribution each day until Qingming Festival, also known as Tomb Sweeping Day, falling on April 4 in 2020. With 7 funeral homes in Wuhan, the number of urns distributed over the 13-day period would translate into 45,500 deaths, 500 times 7 times 13. Multiple sources have also confirmed that Wuhan's crematories have been working non-stop over the past few months. On February 3, Huang, a Wuchang funeral home employee, revealed to Guyu Lab, a Chinese media platform affiliated with Tencent, that beginning January 26, the second day of the Chinese New Year, employees were required to report to work, no exceptions. We work 24 hours a day. Our 4 phone lines are operating 24 hours a day, and the staff is exhausted, Huang said. Li Zihua, a former host of China Central TV, CCTV, visited Qingshan Funeral Home on February 21 and confirmed Huang's account of the heavy workload in Wuhan's crematoriums. Li reported that by the time he left around 11 p.m., the furnaces were still running. It usually takes 1 hour for a furnace to cremate one body. Counting the 26 days between January 26 and February 21, and assuming that each of the 74 furnaces that Wuhan has worked 24 hours each day, then a total of 46,176, 26 times 24 times 74, bodies could have been cremated. Li found out that the average number of non-coronavirus-related deaths in Wuhan was 137 per day. Excluding the 3,562, 137 times 26, non-coronavirus-related deaths, the coronavirus deaths during the 26-day period would be 42,614, 46,176 minus 3,562, a number on par with the figure of 45,000 derived from the number of urns distributed. If the death toll was 42,614 in a 26-day period, one may infer that the 3-month toll of fatalities in Wuhan would be more than 120,000. It is apparent that the CCP has been lying about the actual coronavirus casualties. As a matter of fact, this is not the first time that the CCP has been lying since it came to power several decades ago. Great Chinese Famine. Following the Great Leap Forward, a political campaign aimed at turning China from an agrarian economy into an industrialized nation, a Great Famine took place in China between 1959 and 1961. Several decades passed and the CCP still considers it taboo to publicize how many people were starved to death during the famine. Numerous analyses were conducted based on census data. Cao Shuji from the Chinese University of Hong Kong published an article on Chinese Journal of Population Science in 2005 and found the number of unnatural deaths between 1959 and 1961 were at least 33 million. Frank D. Cutter, chair professor of humanities at the University of Hong Kong, concluded the loss was at least 45 million in his book Mao's Great Famine. Tangshan earthquake. The Tangshan earthquake, a major disaster that happened on July 28, 1976, is another example. The CCP initially announced a death toll of 655,000 and changed it to 240,000 later without any explanation. However, the coupons needed to buy fabric or food at the time distributed by the government at the end of 1976 hinted at a much higher death toll. Only 650,000 coupons were handed out when around 1.2 million coupons were distributed the year before. Many believe that the difference of 550,000 was closer to the real number of casualties based on independent research. Deaths suppressed by tenfold in an accident. The CCP not only lies about natural and man-made disasters, but also major accidents. An explosion took place in Tianjin in August 2015 and quite a few firefighters died in addition to other casualties. An official report from the CCP mentioned a death toll of 21 firefighters. According to sources, however, all members of Tianjin's 9 fire brigades and 3 special firefighting teams who had gone to the explosion site died. Each fire brigade consisted of 20 to 30 people and each special firefighting team had at least 15 people. This would make the total death toll between 200 and 300. Organ harvesting. Among all the lies by the CCP, the largest one might be those fabricated against practitioners of Falun Gong, a meditation group based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, forbearance. More than 100 million people have taken up Falun Gong since it was introduced to the public in 1992. Fearing its soaring popularity, the CCP made up numerous lies about Falun Gong and launched a nationwide campaign against it in July 1999. Since then, a large number of practitioners have been detained, imprisoned, tortured, or even had their organs harvested for their belief. Gan Nan, a former customs officer at Beijing Capital Airport, was detained in Sin and Women's Forced Labor Camp for the third time in 2001 for refusing to renounce Falun Gong. She told of her experience while held at the labor camp. "We received comprehensive physical examinations including a blood test, X-rays, electrocardiogram, ECG, and cornea inspections," recalled Gan, who currently lives in Toronto, Canada. Her experience was not unique. At the now-defunct Masanjiao Forced Labor Camp, one of the facilities where Falun Gong practitioners were treated the worst, all practitioners admitted had thorough physical exams in September 2000, and each practitioner was assigned a unique ID. Those with special blood types were highlighted and doctors asked them if they had any genetic diseases in their family. Evidence that surfaced later would reveal that the CCP detention facility's thorough medical examinations of Falun Gong practitioners were for the purpose of harvesting organs from healthy, living practitioners to make huge profits. According to one witness who revealed the following in 2006, "My ex-husband did cornea removal. At the beginning, he didn't know whether those people had been granted permission. People who were on operation tables were not conscious. They were alive. He knew it after performing a few." He said that the person who asked him to do this kind of thing told him, "You are already on this boat. Killing one is murder. Killing several is also murder." He said that later on he also knew that the people were alive. Where the organs and corpses were sent, he didn't ask. According to a military doctor in Shenyang military region, there were 36 military concentration camps in China. Among them, held over 120,000 inmates at one time, and the majority of them were Falun Gong practitioners. The Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee decided to treat Falun Gong practitioners as class enemies and handle them in any manner that was economically profitable. In other words, Falun Gong practitioners were no longer regarded as human beings, but as raw material for commercial products, he explained. Practitioner Gan was fortunate to have fled China, but many other practitioners remain missing or may have long perished after their organs were harvested. According to Guo Guoting, a lawyer who currently lives overseas, and defended Falun Gong practitioners while he was still in China, said that many practitioners had gone missing. One example was Wang Xiang, a student of the renowned Shanghai Jiaotong University. "We searched everywhere and could not find his information," explained Guo. To avoid further persecution or implicating others, practitioners who were detained often refused to report their names or residence. As a result, many of them were sent to Tianjin or northeast China, where they may have become unwilling victims of organ harvesting. The Independent Tribunal into Forced Organ Harvesting from Prisoners of Conscience in China, the China Tribunal, led by Sir Geoffrey Nice QC, a prosecutor at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, was established in London to investigate accusations of forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience in China. The tribunal announced its findings on June 17, 2019. The panel concluded that the CCP has been harvesting organs from living Falun Gong practitioners in China for many years and that this brutality still continues today. While the CCP publicly announced in 2015 that it would stop sourcing organs from executed prisoners, research shows that it is still falsifying organ donation numbers. BMC Medical Ethics published an article titled, "Analysis of Official Deceased Organ Donation Data, Casts Doubt on the Credibility of China's Organ Transplant Reform," on November 14, 2019. The authors studied China's official organ donation data and found highly compelling evidence they are being falsified.